Hi everyone, welcome back to Chrysalis Books. My name is Jessica, and the topic of today's video is the series review of the 3-book series that I'm reading for my video series. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. This is going to be the last video I do in this particular outfit on this particular day. So if you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I filmed a bunch all in one day, just because I've been feeling a little bit drained. So if you're new to my channel, something that I'm doing is a video series where I review 3 different book series, and every month I read one installment of that series. So right now the series that I am reading are Rizzoli and Isles by Patricia Briggs. Nope, not that. Try that again. So right now the series that I'm reading are the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs, which is an urban fantasy paranormal romance series. The Rizzoli and Isles series by Tess Gerritsen, which is a fantastic thriller murder mystery series. And then the Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer, which everybody knows what Twilight is. It's also urban fantasy YA romance. And I'm rereading that series so that I can catch all of the companion books that she wrote and the newest one, which is Midnight Sun. So we are on the 3rd installment of all 3 of these here today. Let's start with the 3rd installment of Mercy Thompson, which is Iron Kissed by Patricia Briggs. In Iron Kissed, there is a series of murders happening on the Fae reservation where Mercy, the main character, lives. Mercy is a shapeshifter who can shape into a coyote. And so her good friend Z, who actually sold her his mechanic shop, or his auto, what would you call it? Auto mechanic shop? Clearly I don't work in that industry. But he's her really good friend, we'll put it that way. And he asks her to shift into her coyote form and to use her heightened sense of smell to see if she can track who the potential murderer is who's killed a series of people on the Fae reservation. What I liked about this, well, I liked many things, but one of the things that I thought was really interesting was to see how Patricia Briggs portrayed the Fae when they came out to the humans as being magical and powerful, and how the humans did what humans in the United States do and put them on a reservation like we did the Native Americans, and like we do to people in general. And I thought that was smart of Patricia Briggs, an interesting portrayal and an interesting way to address issues of Native American heritage and culture here in the United States. Mercy Thompson herself is also Native American, and so this book does a good service. As far as I know, it does a good service to Indigenous people in the US. Now maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, please tell me down in the comments below, but I think that the representation of Indigenous cultures in the Mercy Thompson series is pretty good. So anyway, Z asks her to sniff out the murderer. She finds a common scent at every murder scene, tells them about it. And then Z and Mike, who is also Fae and runs a pub, an Irish pub in the city, they go together to talk to this person that she scented at the scenes, and he's dead when they get there. Then the police arrive, and because they're on the scene, they charge Z with murder and arrest him. And so the majority of this book is about Mercy trying to prove Z's innocence, and it really gives us a good look into the Fae and how dangerous they are, how powerful they are. And I loved that. The Fae, Patricia Briggs really created such an interesting and dynamic and believable world and system of magic here, and it's just so good. There's also a love triangle in this book between Adam, who is the local alpha of the werewolf pack that Mercy lives right next door to, and then Samuel, who is a werewolf that Mercy grew up with, who ends up moving in with her because he's a lone wolf. And so throughout the book, she's struggling with trying to choose between these two. And the way the magic works within the pack, Adam is starting to have some issues because him not having secured Mercy as his mate is causing issues within the hierarchy in his wolf pack. So it's becoming more and more important for Mercy to make a decision soon on who she's going to pick. I was really enjoying this book. It was my favorite book so far up until the ending. I was giving it 4 stars up until the ending. And then I have to say, trigger warning for sexual assault, because there's a rape in this book. And that doesn't spoil anything necessarily, but I'm just not sure how I feel about how rape was used as a way to advance the plot in this story. I mean, I have issue when rape is used in a romanticized way. Like, that is not okay with me. And I felt like this wasn't quite romanticizing rape. It was clearly problematic that it happened, but it was written in a way that, like, readers are supposed to kind of gobble it up, you know? I don't know. It just made me really uncomfortable. And I've heard some other reviews of it saying that, you know, Patricia Briggs did a great job and that showed resilience and all this other stuff. And I just don't know how I feel about it. And I can't decide. And sorry, all my devices are beeping at me. But I can't decide how I feel about it. And I don't know what to think about it. It's been over a month since I read this book. And I still don't know how I feel about it. And it might just be that way. So it bumped it down from 4-star review to a 3-star review. And that was my experience with Iron Kissed. Alright, I feel like I talked about that one for a long time. Let's move on to The Sinner by Tess Gerritsen. So in The Sinner, we start to get to know Mora Isles a lot more, which is super exciting. She is my favorite character in this series. What happens in this series is there is a murder at a convent, a Catholic convent of nurses, and basically they're on the case, right? So Jane Rizzoli is on the case, and Mora Isles is the forensic pathologist, had to think of the word, that does the investigation. And I can't really talk about it in a whole lot of detail without spoiling things. There's another murder that's interconnected with the murder at the church or at the convent. There is so much happening in this book. Mora's ex-husband comes back into the picture, Victor. Mora develops feelings for the priest at the convent, and that reminds me of the Thornbirds. If any of you ever have read or heard of the Thornbirds, it was very Thornbirds-esque, and there's just a lot that happens and a lot of information around these murders I just can't talk about because it would be spoilery. It's really good. It's one of my favorite books in the series, and I feel like this is where the series really starts to take off. The first 2 books in this series are kind of okay, but this is when you really start to be like, okay, like I am invested in this now, and it starts to get interesting. Mora develops as a character into one that you really get to know. She's not just a side character or a new character anymore. She is probably the main focus in this book, is Mora and how she's kind of at the center of everything that's happening here. And Jane is developing, and it's just like it's so good. It's so good. That's all I can say about it. I did give it a 3 stars out of 5. And then the last book in our series review is Eclipse by Stephenie Meyer. This is the third book in the Twilight saga. And this is also my favorite book in the Twilight saga, the third one, because I feel like it brings together all of the elements finally. So the first book you meet the vampires, the second book you meet the werewolves, and the third book they come together in this really glorious way. And I don't think that the movies portray Edward fairly in Eclipse, because in the movies they really just portray him as a control freak to an abusive degree. But when you read the book has these scenes of Bella and Edward having like really open and honest conversations and working through the issues that they're having. And like him being controlling at the beginning of the book is definitely a problematic issue for their relationship. But in the book, they sit down and have an honest conversation about it, and they make changes and they compromise. And I think that the movies unfairly portray the relationship as much more toxic than it actually is in the book series. And that is another reason that I really like this, because it kind of redeems Edward. Edward isn't just trying to control her because he's an abusive person. Bella is the most important thing in his life, the most important thing in his existence, and she's extremely fragile, and he just wants to protect her. But he eventually like loosens up, and he's not as controlling. He trusts her. He learns to trust her decisions. He learns to trust her decisions around Jacob. He gives her space to figure out what she wants, space to figure out what she needs. And I feel like that is an example of a healthy relationship, and not necessarily the toxic relationship that we see in the film. And now, to give the film credit, you know, films can only be a certain amount of minutes long, and so they can't exactly show like every single part of the book in the film. They had to make cuts somewhere, and I get why they made the cuts that they did. They still made a cohesive storyline, still created that love triangle tension in there, but I don't think that they were super fair to Edward in the movies. And the book is a much more balanced perspective on him, his behavior, their relationship. So I gave this book 3 stars out of 5. As I said, it's my favorite book so far in the saga, and it was the first time that I read them as well. Whew, all right, that's it. I'm starting to lose my voice, so that's it for today's video. And in the next series review, we'll be reading the 4th books in the series. So for Patricia Briggs, it will be Bone Crossed. In Rizzoli and Isles, we're reading Body Double, and for the Twilight saga, we're actually reading a companion book, which is The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. So until next time, make sure to continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other.